Happy New Year, buddy. It's good to be back. We're not rusty at all.
We're not rusty. I mean, you're on point. You're on the dot at 10 o'clock. It is a cloudy, overcast, but you know what? Happy to be here Wednesday morning. It's January 3rd, the year 2024. Welcome aboard, everybody. You're listening to the Crushing Iron podcast, and this is episode 738.
Yeah, I haven't seen the sun here in a week, and I actually...
We had it out for like a hot minute yesterday, and I was like, what is this thing in the sky that is so bright?
I had to pull out that Zig Ziglar quote, never judge a day by the weather, on my athletes
so
yesterday.
Man.
It's like, but like I said, damn it, we need some proof sometimes because...
I know. I think right now you just wake up and expect it to be shitty.
That's a good way to look at it, man. Expect
it. Like you
don't
just wake
over-expect.
up and dress warm and expect it to be cloudy and overcast and cold. I mean, it's the wintertime. What else could you ask for? I mean, if you get some sunshine, great. If you don't, you don't. But just expect it. And in the Midwest, it's like, it's not just cold. It's, 25-mile-an-hour winds. It's 35 degrees outside, but it feels like it's 20. You know what? Get your gear on, maybe a little bit extra layer, put a gaiter on your hoodie, head out the door. But yeah, it was...
It's a great way to put it, man. Temper your expectations from the get-go.
Temper your expectations and get to work. I hope
sun
you all had a wonderful Christmas and a wonderful start to the year. It was an awesome year this last year. Happy to be back for another year of podcasting with all of our listeners. And again, just want you to know we appreciate you tuning in every day and giving us an opportunity to connect. Looking forward to today's podcast and all the things for the rest of this year. Before we get into the topic today, if it's your first time tuning in, welcome. We appreciate your time. We know you have quite a lot of options in the triathlon podcast universe and just podcasts in general in terms of valuables. We appreciate you tuning in today. We cover it all. We do swim, bike, and run specific podcasts. We do race recaps and also a lot of race previews. But for the most part, Mike and I as coaches, athletes, best friends, we just sit back, relax, have an open, honest discussion about what we're going through in life, not just as human beings, but also as coaches and athletes ourselves. Mike and I also talk frequently about what our own athletes are going through. Mike and I work with a wide range of athletes all across the globe, from beginner level athletes from the very first 5K or sprint triathlon, all the way up through elite level amateurs trying to get back to championships and everyone in between, from all over the globe. And we'll use the feedback loop we have with them and training peaks, emails, text messages, and the like to drive the discussion of the day. We also like to utilize our Facebook group. You can search that, Crushing Iron Group. Answer one simple question, let's right in. Awesome people, fantastic community, solid resource in a sport that is oftentimes way overcomplicated and way too confusing. It's a solid space to get actionable information, cut through all the BS, and get to work with a lot of experienced athletes in there. Again, you got some Kona podium athletes in there, all the way down to beginners who haven't even done a triathlon and everyone in between. So hop in there, don't be a lurker, be a participant, and ask a question or give good advice. And but that is it. We have no sponsors. We have no ads. But we do have an agenda, and that's to keep you happy and healthy in your endurance sports journey.
I feel like you negative split that intro, man.
I did. I eased into it and then got my feet underneath me and thought, you know what? I'm going to bring it home strong. Because when you haven't done it for a while, you're kind of not sure it's going to come back. So it's like you just got to kind of slowly, methodically be very intentional with the first few lines. And then after that, it's just rolling off the tongue, baby. Ready to be back and excited again. Excited to be here. A few little housekeeping notes. If you're looking for a camp for the coming year, please go to our website. Check out the camps. I think we definitely don't have any spots for our March swim run camp, which is swim focused in the Woodlands, Texas. We have been on a wait list about 15 deep for the last, 2 months. So that is capped. We do have some spots open for our June triathlon camp. That's in Nashville. It's our longest standing camp that we've ever had. So if you're looking for a mid-season training camp to meet some awesome people, get out and do some great training in a great environment, probably the safest training you're going to find with Anderson Road Beach, Boost Fit Swim Club, Natchez Trace, and Percy Warner. Awesome place, challenging, but worth it. Then we've got our Wisconsin camp. If you're doing Ironman Wisconsin or Wisconsin 70.3 next year, that's a great camp for you. It'll be on the course. And even if you're not doing those races, it's still a great opportunity to get out and train, especially if you're doing, I think it's a great opportunity for doing Ironman Louisville. It's not obviously on the course, but the terrain very, very similar. So again, if you've got a late season race in August, September, October, that's a great opportunity to get in some great training. It was our first time last year, but we had a lot of great feedback on that camp. Centrally located, not a lot of driving, and a lot of time to spend time together with our athletes. We have a bunch of coaches there. So check those out if you're looking for, you know what, treat yourself. You got a little bit extra Christmas cash from the in-laws or from the wife or the husband. Do yourself a favor. Try get yourself an entry to the camp. Come join us, hang out with people, make some connections. And then the coming weeks, we'll be announcing a whole new set of C26 coaches that are coming on board. Same philosophies, same approach, different flavors. So be on the lookout for that. But that is, I think that's all I got for the housekeeping today.
It's pretty solid housekeeping.
Thank you.
I'm trying to think if I have any housekeeping. I've got a lot.
I feel like you have a lot.
Listeners.
I want it to be noted that this is only off 1 cup of coffee. I have cut my coffee intake by half in the last week and a half.
Oh, is that one of your things?
That's one of my things. I have made some, and maybe we'll talk about that in the podcast today. But I say they're not drastic, but they feel drastic.
These
but
feel like resolutions, man.
They're not resolutions. You don't make. Listen, no one makes resolutions the day after Christmas.
Oh,
yeah, I woke up.
Well, that's the way you should make them.
I know, and I thought I'm in no man's land, but for me, it's about creating momentum, and why wait to feel better? And so I made some decisions to feel better. I'm just not going to lie. It's been paying off.
Sounds like it.
Yeah. So you got housekeeping before we get into today's topic?
Why wait to build momentum? I was writing that down. No, I don't.
No? All right.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
You sure? All right.
Well, I'm just very interested in your coffee reduction.
I mean, it hasn't been. Well, see, here's what I found.
It's not every day.
What's that?
It's every day, or just?
No, it's been every day. And what I found out, it really wasn't a. So basically, what happened was I found myself feeling pretty good, but I won't lie. The last year, definitely haven't trained as much as I would have liked, and I can make excuses that I'm too busy and too much going on, and Hayden's got this. But frankly, I just haven't made the time to, I think, take care of myself the way I should be taking care of myself. I haven't trained enough, probably haven't had the best sleep hygiene. I've, started routines and then got way over distracted in other areas. And so I started, as I kind of talked about in our weekly email, I started reading a book called Discipline is Destiny by my man, the myth, the legend, Ryan Holiday, who sounds like you read one of his books a little bit over the break as well, The Obstacle is the Way. But it was really like, it's kind of one of those books where it kind of takes you out back, right? Kind of drags you up by the shirt, takes you out back, kind of like, your parents, when you screw up, back in the day, they're like, come outside, or let's go out in the hall, or come over here, let's talk for a minute. You're like, oh, I'm about to get it. And they don't scream at you. They say, I'm disappointed in you. Which is like no one ever wants to hear. You don't want to be bad, but it's such a, and I'm pretty disciplined in a lot of areas, but I mean, I've been sober for over 10 years, so I'm definitely disciplined in that area. We did a podcast, other things, but it was just very, very enlightening on how being so disciplined in such small ways is so very important. And a lot of it was, why wait? And then it shared a lot of stories. One of the stories was about Lou Gehrig and his, his incredible streak in baseball and just how he approached that. And a couple of the stories about people quitting smoking and all these, just a ton of different stories from people that are very relatable, even though they might be famous or from hundreds of years ago or just yesterday. And it was all about being disciplined. And if you can't do these small things right, why should you expect big things to happen? And a lot of it, like the first few chapters were all about, if not your body is your temple, but it is your only vessel you're ever going to get. How are you going to treat it better? And, I've been thinking a lot about just, overall health, sleep quality, sleep hygiene, feeling better and fitter aerobically, definitely dropping a few pounds. And probably just eating a little bit more well balanced. And so I'm usually a 4 cup of coffee a day guy, and I'm usually topping 3 Splendas in those, and I'm probably down in 3 to 4 Crystal Lights a day. And one of the topics in there was just all about, and you and I talk about this a lot off air, is just how sugar, I think, is one of the most crazy addictions on the planet that, no one really ever talks about. And it's in everything, right? It's either regular sugar or artificial sweetener. And so to me, what it was doing for me was it was all about me just wanting more sweet things. And so and I didn't go cold turkey, so don't get me wrong here. But I went from 1 cup, 4 cups of coffee today with 3 splenda in each of them, a couple Crystal Lights, probably having more processed foods than I should have, with some quick, easy fix from, bars and stuff, to eating mostly whole foods, meats, vegetables, eggs, fruit, all stuff you should be eating that everybody knows, but we feel like we don't have enough time to do. But I feel like, what? I've got time right now. I'm on a little bit of a sabbatical from work. So I've gone down to a whole 1 Splenda a day since then. And because I'm not trying to go, I'm not an idiot. I'm not trying to go cold turkey. So I have 1 cup of coffee in the morning with 1 Splenda in it. And instead of downing my coffee like it's, a water, or like I used to do Jaeger shots, it takes me like an hour to drink. And it's definitely making me feel better. I haven't had coffee past like 11 o'clock since. And so I'm definitely reduced that. I've been eating better. I've been feeling a lot better. I got better energy. My sleep has improved drastically. I've also, which you will appreciate. And listen, the last 3 nights before bed, the last thing I've wanted to do is go get in the shower. It's cold here. The last thing I want to do before I crawl in the bed and get warm is to fucking take a cold shower. But it's been part of my routine. I've also been reading in the morning before I start work. I've also been reading in the evening before I go to bed instead of having screen time, watching something on Netflix. And then right before I do that, I've also been having some hot tea. And then I hopped in the shower every night for 3 minutes to a cold shower. And it is the last thing that I want to do. And 3 nights ago, I remember, and I was like, it's like, I really don't want to do this. And I'm warm. It's cold. I keep our house pretty cool in the winter because I like to sleep when it's cold. And I was like, I really don't want to do this right now. So I got in the shower and I started out with a warm shower. And I was going to scroll things back and I remember I actually told myself like a minute into my like slow roll down to the coldest I can handle was, you're not doing it for the cold shower today. You're doing it for the discipline. And to me, it was just showing myself that I had to stay disciplined with what I know is working. Because I think once we find things that work, we tend to just like throw it all away. I'm back to where I need to be. And then that's why we yo-yo, right? And so that's just been a few things. I've also obviously been training every day. Nothing extraordinary. I'm not trying to break new records, but I'm just trying to feel better, act better, be better. And it's not started with anything like extraordinary, but one of the like things that he talked about in there, which I thought were really enlightening, were things like apps on your phone and alcohol. And he said, if there was an app on your phone that was invented today and you knew how addicted you would be to it, would you still download it? And if you wouldn't, then maybe you should get rid of it. And then he also said, he said alcohol, if you knew what alcohol could do to you and it was just invented today, it never existed ever, would you be like, oh yeah, I'll go toss them back every night for the next couple of years? You'd be like, no, I think I'll pass on that. So it was really just, it's very thought provoking, but it made me just think about a lot of things and not in terms of how I want to train or race this year, but just taking small steps to feeling better. Because to me, when I'm not run down, when I'm probably not over caffeinated and hitting that like 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. I mean, I went on a run last week at 5:15 in the evening, which, for me is like unheard of. I'm in the morning, mid-afternoon, or I'm done. And so to me, it wasn't so much about, trying to reinvent the wheel. It was like setting my body up and my mind to be successful and not making terrible decisions, because I didn't make smart decisions, which is what I think we always do in training, right? People will skip a day because they just felt like they needed to, or they just don't really have a good excuse. They just skipped it. And then the next day, to make up for it, they do double the time and then dig themselves a hole, right? We always do, we try to combat a bad decision with 2 more bad decisions, right? Mm-hmm. And so what I've just, what I think we all know, what I know about myself specifically is I'm better at making really good decisions when I'm creating momentum with other good decisions. I'm reading, sticking to my schedule. Is it perfect every day? No, but the intent is there, and I've done it since the day after Christmas and haven't stopped. And it has paid off. And once you get that feeling of momentum, you really don't want to break, because you don't want to go back to one, feeling the way you did. But it's a lot easier to make good decisions, like packing my bag today to go to the pool this afternoon when I'm done with stuff, because I know I'm not going to be over caffeinated and have that, like, mid-afternoon crash from less caffeine, or from having too much caffeine, or maybe not eating the way you want to eat. And so it's been very enlightening for me. And, I think it's a good, maybe not a good topic for today if it doesn't need to be, but I think it really, so much of what we do comes down to these really small decisions and that we make. And we talk about this frequently with, micro decisions and micro goals. But I think a lot of times we don't, if I told you, or if I could tell someone, you could wake up tomorrow and feel significantly better or be significantly fitter, would you do it? And they'd be like, well, yeah, that's all I want is that. Okay, well, and then you tell them, like, well, all it takes are these like 15 very small, insignificant steps, right? Have better sleep hygiene. Stop watching, 5 hours of YouTube before you go to bed. Maybe try to eat dinner a little bit earlier and don't make it, chips and salsa and 5 margaritas. Maybe cut down on the sugar. Make sure you're getting outside and doing aerobic work. Make sure maybe you're doing meditation. Maybe you're doing breath work. Maybe whatever it is. These are small things that they're not an financial investment either. It's just an investment in your time, an investment in your effort, an investment in your discipline. And if you can't make those, then what are you really expecting? And why are you expecting anything? Because your hopes and dreams aren't really are going to come to fruition if you're not staying disciplined in the very, very small specific things. And there was also a great chapter on why you should tell people no more often, which I'm a huge fan of.
Yeah, you are. No, I think it's an important topic. In fact, I've been kind of on the same path as usual. We're always seemingly in alignment with things, and I've been talking to my athletes a lot about the same issue. And I was talking to you beforehand about this concept of, and it's exactly kind of what you're talking about, this whole idea of microdosing, and microdosing the extreme. In other words, doing the little things that will help you get to the big thing. And, we can, phrase it in a lot of ways and everything like that. But what I've been saying with my athletes is like, look, you can power through. We can all do it. We can all do more than we think right now. There's no doubt about it. But to come out of the new year with some big lofty goal and then just like go hog wild and feel good for a few days. And I think that's the same way with a long-term triathlon, is that we can keep going. You can kind of keep sucking it up. You got a race, let's get it done. And, but, really the goal of all of this is to feel good and to have more energy and to enjoy the process. So the same type of thing, man. I woke up, I think it was after Christmas too. I mean, we really haven't talked much over break. No. So this is all like individual.
We've always been kind of the same page.
Yeah, it's independent synergy in a way, because I think we go through a lot of the same things, and we just, when you sit on them, you kind of come to the similar conclusions. And what I did was, that book you always talk about, The Obstacles of Ways, another Ryan Holiday book, and I just, I dabble in that thing, and then one day I just woke up and I'm like, I'm going to read this thing, and I'm going to take notes with it. So I started, and I was kind of having a foggy morning, and I'm like, I don't know. But then I just started sitting there, and slowly but surely my brain became more and more engaged, and there was something about the tactile connection between writing notes and reading, and really kind of letting it sink in, that gave me this, like, I don't know, it was sort of a awakening of sorts. Not, and it's a great book, don't get me wrong. I have a lot of those kinds of books, those, self-help journey, kind of like get better in life type of deals. But the process itself really started waking me up. And what it did was it gave me another idea. And that was because you mentioned YouTube, and, it's so easy to just click videos and watch them, and interviews and all these kinds of things. And I made another commitment after a couple days of the note taking, and connecting my reading with my hands and like just really trying to remember it. And what happened was I was like, this is valuable stuff. And then I said, if I'm going to be watching these videos, I'm going to be taking notes too. And what that did was, after like 3 or 4 or 5 minutes or whatever, and I recognized that I was wasting my time. And that's what happens a lot with those things, is that you go on there and you just start clicking around and watching videos, and it's just sort of a distraction. And you mentioned distraction. And that's really what life has become in a lot of ways now, with all these devices and, like you said, apps, and you can go anywhere and just get distracted. But for me, as I was like, if I don't feel like taking notes, or if this doesn't seem like something that's really giving me something, then I'm just going to stop. But it's so easy to, just kind of think you're learning, or you think you're doing something good, but you're just kind of taking yourself away from, really what's important in your life. And like I was saying to athletes, you can't maintain it, this whole process, unless you're feeling good inside, you're mentally clear, you're energized. And back to your thing about the coffee, and in a lot of the stuff that I've followed, like Zen principles and things like that, when you drink coffee, you're supposed to savor it, right? So, or anything, like, it doesn't matter what it is, and whether it's food, or we just have this tendency to plow it down. You know what I mean? And I think that all stems from, maybe you don't sleep great, and then you're always looking for that energy, and then you grab your phone and you get the dopamine or whatever. But to drink coffee and actually, like smell it and kind of sip it and just taste it and let it do its thing, or whatever, if it's food, the same principle, to actually be aware of it and be in that moment with it will help you slow down. It's very interesting. I think that works with all addictions. And it's like you said with, going and doing cold shower, it's just sort of like, I don't want to do this, but you take a deep breath, and then you kind of just ground yourself, and then you're thinking, okay, I'm doing this for discipline. It's something I don't want to do, but when you have, a clarity about why you're doing something like that, and it doesn't matter, like, you're not doing it just to get these extreme benefits all the time, and that's the thing I talk about with this plunging business I've been doing. And I've been microdosing that since after Ironman Wisconsin. I started going in the lake, and it was kind of warm. It was in the low 60s, which is kind of cold for swimming or whatever. But I started there, and it would be high 50s, and, it would just slowly go down. It was just kind of microdosing my way into the habit. And now, this morning was actually the first time we got a cold tank in the garage, and it actually feels way colder to do it like that. But I got up this morning, and I planned to start the morning plunges. And I did not want to do it. I had a little coffee, and I was just sitting there, and then slowly but surely I said, you know what, I want to get in. And I did it. And I think those little steps like that are super powerful. And in the long run, it creates more of this triathlon as a complement or supplement to the life, rather than the driving force of our energy, because it's a little bit on the extreme side sometimes. And when you force yourself to be in that position all the time, it can really wear you down over time.
Well, it's because it's still fleeting.
Yeah.
Right. Like it's a sport, right, that we choose to do. And so it can go away. You can get hurt. Your job status or personal financial status could change drastically, and it could go away. I mean, we all found this in 2020 and 2021. Like, when there weren't, some people, when they couldn't race, they were totally disengaged, wanted no part of it. And so it can go away. It's fleeting, right? And so there's in the wild, traveling can be fleeting, and you obviously need to take care of yourself and hopefully be responsible and be disciplined in how you act and the way that you take care of your body in order to train better. It's, again, like we're talking about a season of life or a season of the year where everyone has big goals. And they're all still feeling pretty attainable because we're far away. Not because we're far away and we haven't had a chance to do the training, but we're far away, and so it feels easier to keep and maintain momentum for 2 days versus 2 months. And there was a quote that I think is so spot on for both training and for life. And it was kind of my quote for the year. And it says, no one can say yes to their destiny without saying no to what is clearly someone else's. No one can achieve their main thing without the discipline to make it the main thing. And their destiny piece could be a training, it could be life. But one of the things that I love about that, and if the way you think about it is when you choose to say yes to something, it's not so much you're saying yes to that, you're saying no to a lot of other things. So when I chose to take that cold shower the last 2 nights, I really didn't want to. I wasn't just saying yes to the cold shower and putting myself through that. I was saying no to stopping a streak. I was saying no to being lazy about it. I was saying no to not being disciplined and seeing it through. I was saying yes to making myself, feel better before I went to bed. And that is so much the same thing with training and how people should honestly get up every day. If you want to be successful this year, if you want to get the most out of yourself, you want to get the most out of your body, you want to be able to be at your best on race day, think about that, right? What you're saying yes to and what you're saying no to, right? And I'm going to use this as an analogy because I think people can relate to it. And I'm not against doing this all the time, but, a lot of people, and I've had this conversation with athletes before. I just really like to ride with this group of people. And I really like to run with this group of people. I think that's great. I think having that kind of connection and opportunity is fantastic. Do I think you should do it every day? No. Because you are inevitably saying yes to someone else's destiny. Because everyone in that group is going to be either faster than you or slower than you. Same thing if you choose the same group ride to go into everyone's faster than you. You're not choosing your destiny, you're choosing theirs. Because what you're doing by hammering yourself all day long every day isn't good for you, but it's good for them. So you're saying yes to them and no to you. Same thing goes with if you choose to run with the same person. I had this conversation with an athlete last year specifically who ran with an athlete or another athlete who always walked half the time and wonder why she wasn't getting any faster. And I said, at some point, you have to choose. You want your training and your accomplishments and your goals, or do you want theirs? And is the conversation you have with them 45 minutes a week or every time you guys run, is it worth it? And so they kind of stopped and they just ran a whole half marathon for the first time ever. Like, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't have, times and opportunities and training sessions with people that fill your cup. I'm all about that. But at some point, you do have to realize that, are you doing, what are you in this for? And what is your approach and what is it getting you in return? Right? Staying up too late. What are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? Eating like crap or going into your workout without fueling yourself. What are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? Because it's not going to go well. Skipping workouts, not getting up on time, not getting enough sleep, not taking care of your body, not fueling well. Not paying attention to details. What are you saying yes to? What are you saying no to? And I think if you tally them up, they should obviously all the yeses should be in your favor, and all the nos should be allowing you to make the decision to say yes a lot easier. And I think that's again another thing that we should always look at when it comes to momentum is again, I've always been a huge fan of the word no. It's short, it's sweet, it's simple, and it's straight to the point. And you don't need to make excuses. You just say, no, it doesn't fit. It's not my priority today. Okay. Hey, you want to go have lunch and talk about this? No, because we're not going to get anywhere. All we're going to do him and haw for about an hour and a half, and I'm going to waste an hour and a half of my day. No, I'm good. I got other shit to do. And so I think there's a lot of power in that. But I think when you look at your year and you're thinking about, being successful, and I'm never for time-based goals. I'm always about process-oriented goals. But if your process is, and you're about having a process-oriented goal and having a process-oriented year where you're just able to get things done, then what better way to go about it than to set yourself up for success and how you make decisions? We always talk about this too. We talked about before on the podcast is, when you eat like shit, you want to keep eating like shit because you feel bad. And if you feel bad, it's not like I feel terrible. You know what I want? I want a smoothie. I think I'm definitely going to want a smoothie today. No, you're like, I think I want to order a pizza and maybe down 2 boxes of Oreos because you feel like trash, right? It's like an addictive. It's addictive. I feel like crap. I want to keep doing like crap. If you're eating healthy, you're treating your body right, you're getting sleep, you have the energy, so you're not going to make these weak decisions to compromise anything else. And it's never going to be perfect, right? I'm definitely not condoning trying to be perfect every day, because no one is in any shape, way, or form, myself included. But if you start to get out like even a little bit of momentum, the more you do it, the easier those yeses and the easier those no's become. And so when you look at your racing for the year and you look at your training even in January, right? Talk about setting yourself up for success, right? Is overextending yourself the first few. We see this a ton with athletes. They want to do more, they want to do more, they want to do more. And then we see it come March and April when new athletes come on board, and you look back at their training and you see that the first block in the first training plan they purchased was, the beginner plan. Then they missed 3 weeks. And the next, plan they purchased is the intermediate plan. Then they miss a few weeks. And the next plan is like 20 to 28 hours. It's an advanced plan. They miss every week. Set yourself up for success, right? It's a lot easier to create, you don't create momentum. You think about like the snowball effect. You don't start with a snowball the size of a Ford F-150. You start with a snowball the size of the bolt on the wheel. And then you slowly keep it going and keep it going and keep it going. Because if I asked you to go out there and move that snowball the size of a Ford F-150, you couldn't move it. But if you started with the one that's so small, you can move with that. And it keeps getting bigger, and at least you've got momentum to keep it going, right? You've got inertia on you, got physics on your side. But from a dead stop, you got nothing, right? And especially, depending on how you treated yourself the last 3 weeks of the year, most people, they didn't do a lot, and they treated themselves like a carnival. You ate too much, you went out, you partied. So I've always found it so fascinating that, January 1st is supposed to be the day we kick off New Year's resolutions. And, a lot of people were out till probably 5 o'clock in the morning and hungover. That's not really setting yourself up for success. Go out, have a party, have a good time, but it's not the easiest way to start momentum. And as I saw someone say yesterday, 2024 starting on Monday means they mean business. We're not starting on a Saturday. There is no excuse. We got a couple days till Monday. We're starting on Monday. Let's get this shit together. Let's get going. And, so again, when you think about this month and you think about how it's going to complement the year, it's about momentum. It's about creating momentum, not going from a dead stop to an all-out sprint, right? It's like trying to hop into the main set and go do an all-out 5K cold. You might last for a minute, and then you're going to be broken down, and you're probably going to end up injured. But that's what so many people try to do right now. They try to go all out of the gate because I got this. And then what happens? You feel like trash the next day. You can't move. You feel beat up. Now you're discouraged. And the first thing people do when they get discouraged and feel beat up is choose more bad decisions. Well, I guess I need to take a few weeks off. Well, I can't start back in. I might as well, order a couple pizzas in tonight. No. Start things small. Even feeling okay and pretty good on a day is a great way to feel better the next day, to make better decisions and make things stick and make things go better for you for that week. And that's it. Just look at it for the week. How can I be successful this week? What can I say yes to? What can I say no to? How can I stay disciplined? How can I get the work that I need to do to feel energized and ready to go next week? Right? And they say, Rome wasn't built in a day, but most triathletes are trying to build their whole season in January. They want to go all in. They want to go all out. I coach, I'm gonna hit the gym 5 times a week. I'm gonna put in 2 extra swims. I'm gonna take my extra. I'm really jazzed. I'm really going. Okay, well then you got no excuses to do the minimum. If you're that jazzed and you're that pumped up, you got no excuses to do the minimum.
Yeah.
So focus on doing that first, versus trying to max out your extra excited energy just because the year on the calendar changed.
I find it hilarious when I think to myself that, I have habits that I've been doing for 20 years or whatever, that I'm going to actually change them in one day or something like that. It's, because changing habits, man, it's very difficult. Long-term habits, it's hard to do that. And like willpower is fleeting. It can come real hard on January 1st and you can nail something. I just talk about this kind of stuff because I think that, me and you and, a lot of people listen to this that might not be, top shape or, they might be whatever, can probably, go out and do an Ironman, tomorrow. It'd be ugly, but the ability is there. And we talk about that. It's one day. So now if you got that in your mind, what's the point of trying to do it right now? You know, like if you could do it at any time, why not build back up and be in a good position to do it? You know, I was coming into this year, somebody, Emily had mentioned, she said, we should have a word, you know, and this is a thing out there, you know, have a word for the year or whatever. And I was like, all right. But, and it sort of came to me naturally as I was doing all that note taking and reading the book. And I started reading, not just that book, but I started reading other books. And I was like, this is good, man. It was good to kind of get back into that. And reading's sort of one of those habits that obviously you do a lot when you're in school and growing up and all that kind of stuff. And then you go through in and out of phases or whatever. But reading to me is one of those things that kind of takes a minute to get kind of going again because your brain is not, which is really proof that it's kind of a two-way street, reading is, but a lot of times we pick the one-way vessel that's just pointed right into our brain, and we can't, you know, adjust. You know, like reading makes you think and picture and you know, craft observations on your own. And a lot of times when there's video involved and you're just watching TV or something on the screen, it's a one-way communication, and it's hard to you know, you're not using your brain as much. My buddy used to, you know, we talked about this with music. We used to love listening to music. And then when MTV came around, he was like, I won't watch that shit because I have a different image of that song in my head than the video they created for it. And I don't like the song anymore. And I think there's something interesting. I think reading is the similar thing. So anyway, back to the word, it just came to me naturally that my word of the year is going to be learn. And when I started thinking like that, and there became this kind of low-level excitement about the idea that there's so much to learn, and I think we waste so much time not learning and just kind of being jammed with information that is either someone else's idea or someone else's agenda or whatever it may be. And instead, it's like, then it becomes, oh, yeah, I love to create, and I love to build processes for myself, and it's infinite, the learning ability or possibilities. And then I started thinking, okay, well, that's good because I have a lot of ideas and I want to do a lot of things. And then I said, okay, you know, I'm going to have a second word, and that second word is finish, and actually do shit and get them done, and commit to them. Oh, you know, whether it's, although I did pick up a book and I knew it wasn't working for me, and I'm not going to even try to finish that because that's a big waste of time. But like to get into things that feel good and start a process that feels good and then actually finish it. And that can be broken down to each day with a workout. And that's what I say. I don't think I have to be doing anything crazy, but like to build good habits like that, I think you need to kind of take it slow, you know? And I think it's more manageable for sure, but it also creates this thing that I always talk about, which is I look forward to the next one or the next day. And I think that to me, that's always been the absolute secret of training, is that if you can stop short, Frank Costanza, in a spot where you're really like wanting to go more, but you know that it isn't necessarily going to be it's kind of a diminishing marginal return situation. Yeah, you could do it, but why not stop while you're ahead and then look forward to tomorrow and be able to pick that up and do it in the same manner to look forward to the next day. Those are the little things and those micro dosings that really, if you can break it down like that, it just really becomes a lot more exciting, you know? That process becomes exciting. And I think that's what a lot of us are missing, is that we're always looking at the extreme goal, and we can't dial in and find the joy in the little things. And I think once you can find the joy in the little things like that, then the snowball that you talk about just starts rolling.
I mean, I love goals and words like learn because they're infinite. Mm-hmm. Right. I think we oftentimes get so attached to like finite, very overly specific goals or expectations or definitions of wins. Because in that small margin of the win or the success, the goal is a ocean full of the opportunity to fail. Even if you did an extraordinary amount of work. Even if you're better, faster, stronger, healthier, you got that one little piece that's like, well, you didn't make it, right? And that's why I think like endurance sports are so great. And when your attitude and your objective is just to stick to a process and get better, and to find out like what, like how good, how fast, how healthy, how energized, how fit, how far can I go? Because the answer is you have no idea. And so to put like a metric on that is I don't understand. Like, I had an athlete email me, it's like, with a bunch of questions while I was out, and one of them was like, hey, I feel like I do better with, a time goal, and maybe it'll push me harder. And then he listed out like 3 to 4 races he did with no time goals that he annihilated. And I was like, wait a minute. So we need time goals now, yet we haven't had them, and you crushed all your races and exceeded all the expectations. No, we don't. Right? Like we again, I think that we spend so much time finding ways to rob ourselves of joy and rob ourselves of the fulfillment of the work that we've done with, and honestly, most oftentimes goals in times and places are we've pulled out of absolute thin air with no work done towards meeting the goal. And I just think that's a surefire way to failure and burnout, is to have things like learn or progress or, whatever your word for the year wants to be, or your quote for the year. Don't make it, I'm going to PR at Ironman Florida on November, whatever. Like, first of all, it's a long ass way away. But like, and what if you wake up that day and it's, even if you've done all the work and you've treated yourself right and you've been healthy and you've done the training and you've finished the process, and you wake up and it's 32 degrees outside, which has been 30s and 40s in Panama City before, or it's 100 degrees in November, the wind's 25 to 30, and they cancel the swim, or the swim's super rough, or you get sick. Is it a failure? The whole year. Yeah, I just didn't reach my goal as a month. No. Again, like, that's why I think like we get so caught up in these, absolutes, and the world's filled with them. What are you? Right? Where do you sit? What do you think? And it's never like, well, I'm not really sure about this. I'm just trying to figure things out. Or you can't be this. You've got to be that. You got to pick one side. You can't straddle the fence. You can't do this. Well, like, no one's saying you got to hem and haw the whole way till death, but a lot of times, like, as long as you're just trying to figure things out and do your best, you're on the right track. Because a lot of times the steadfast, concrete, iron fist way of I'm 100% this way, a lot of times can lead you to getting lost because you're blinded. You got no idea what else is out there, what opportunities are out there, or maybe what other beliefs are out there. And that's kind of where we've gotten in this world anyway, is no one likes to learn anymore. We just like to be who we are and be what we believe. And that's how it's supposed to be. And everyone else is trash or wrong or soft or whatever it is. And all these ridiculous asshat words people use now to describe other people. We've totally like blindfolded ourselves to any learning at all. Because now learning is all about reading headlines and propaganda. You're not learning anything. You're just being programmed by the machine. So if you really want to learn, you really want to self-explore, you really want to find out the best version of yourself, then get out there and do it. And don't take the lazy way out. Instead of being a headline reader, and do a deep dive. Figure out things. Challenge yourself, right? Challenge your belief system if you want. Challenge the way that you operate on a day-to-day basis. Are you organized? Are you disorganized? Are you good at time management? Are you not good at time management? Are you really sleeping that great? Or are you not sleeping that great? Am I getting the most out of my summer training or am I not? Is my diet really okay or is it really not? Am I drinking enough water or am I not? Am I going out to eat with people and having connections and having community or am I not? Answer those questions and then get to work on them. But a lot of people they're too afraid to ask because they're too afraid to look. We might not like what we find. And then that's just adds the list of things that we need to correct and we need to fix. But why is it so a bad thing? Like one of my favorite of my favorite titles of a chapter in this last book was A Strenuous Life is a Great Life. And it's all about how we spend so much time trying to make life easier and how we get nothing from it except to get softer and expect easier to happen. And then when life happens, we have no ability at all to endure. So think about that. Again, challenge yourself. Do a deep dive. Now's the time. The farther away you get from it, the less like you are to do it. And then the farther back you're going to have to backtrack. Like I use this example a lot when people ask me about treatment. And they say, like, how was the first, you're in there for a month, or I actually had a close friend a couple weeks ago headed to treatment. And I just said, the only thing I said was, stay as long as humanly possible. Stay as long as possible. Because for me, after 30 days, I hadn't even scratched the surface of being sober. I just hadn't drank in 30 days. I had to do like the deep dive, really hard work that got me to the point to where I could totally surrender, understand where I was. Right. And I remember exactly where I was. It was 30 days, and I had really just done a little bit of therapy, hadn't done anything. And I think I've shared this story before on the podcast, but I'll share it again. It's been a while. And this was 2 months in. And again, but after 30 days, I just hadn't drank. I hadn't done any deep diving on anything in my life and challenging myself to do better and be better, and how I got to where I got. And I was about to have a call, and my primary therapist was basically saying, hey, we got to give up your bed if you're not going to stay for another 30 days. And I just got done with this session where every single guy, every male on campus, so we're talking 55, 60, got in this huge room, and we all had to get out on this giant piece of poster board. And we had to write down basically every huge, unspeakable mistake we've ever done on this poster board. And then we also had to write down the amount of money we feel like we have lost and or spent on your vice. So mine was obviously alcohol, which was way more than I wanted to write down. And then you had to get up and talk and say it to everyone. Think about that. Stand up in a group of 60 strangers and basically saying all the things you've either are ashamed of or never wanted anyone to know about, and then tallying up all the money you pissed away at that point in your life. And then I got back, and I remember getting on the phone with my primary therapist. He's like, do you want to stay or do you want to go? I said, I don't want to ever come back here again. I don't ever want to be back. I'll stay. And so it was two kind of different. He was like, wait a minute, you don't want to come back, but you want to stay. It's yes. I was like, I want to stay because I want more time to dig deep, and I want more time to set myself up for success, because I need that 90 days. But the point of staying and working harder was, I don't want to come back. I don't want to be back in 2 years. I don't want to be back in a week. I want to be back in a month. I don't want to be back ever. I want to do what I got to do right now to never come back. And that's not to say relapse and never be part of my story. Who knows? But I know that I haven't been back. And it goes, and so I say all that to say, the longer you spend not doing it, the longer it takes to get back to where you need to go. And mine was obviously 90 days and took me a while. But, stop putting stuff off. Get to work on things. And again, make it your own journey, and don't give it a deadline. Don't make it a specific point. Again, that's why I love that. Learn or grow, or, small things that are, like they say, big things come from small beginnings. And that's just a huge, huge thing that I think we could all do better on to start the year, is to remember that it comes, big things, again, your end of the year race come from small beginnings, making small changes, doing small things right over and over and over again before you try to totally, get into Ironman shape on January 3rd.
Yeah. Yeah, man, I love that story. I think it's so great because that digging deep, that drilling down, that's tough work, but staying as long as you did and working as hard as you did at that, it made it truly become a part of who you are. Your ability, you weren't walking around trying to will yourself always. You feel more grounded, I'm sure. And, I think about that in training, kind of back to what you're saying about the athlete that wanted time push or time goals. I started that way, and I think determination only goes so far sometimes, so how many times can you take your body to the well like that? And I think if we start looking at determination, and we all have it, and certain people have more than others or whatever, but if you come from a better point of strength, like you were super grounded, you have that, and then, you may need that determination, but it's stronger. It's almost like I go to, I've seen it many times in Ironman where I've been just digging and deep and trying to get done and just like fighting everything. And then some guy will just kind of cruise by me, just looking like, they're effortless. And my thought now is like, before I was always mystified by that. And now I'm just like, they just put in the work. They have the baseline to be able to do this on a different level. I can suck it up and fight. It's sort of the analogy we use sometimes about the scrappy team that comes out against Alabama in the first half and kind of has the lead going into halftime. And then you just know that the process Alabama's been on is just going to overwhelm them in the second half or whatever, except for Michigan, obviously. But but I wouldn't call them an upstart. You know what I mean, though? Like some of these teams just come out so fired up and they're ready to go and they're just on fire, and then they just run out of gas. I mean, you can only dig so deep.
Like Auburn, I still wasn't shocked that Alabama won. I was like, because you're Auburn. you've been giving games away the past 4 years.
Yeah. But yeah, so it's that behind the scenes work that nobody sees that makes us stronger.
Go behind the scenes. Like that. That's a good way to end it.
Okay. Deal.
I mean, unless you got more housekeeping.
Nah, I'm good.
We got to start off slow, man. We can't bring all the heat the first podcast back in 24. We got to leave a little bit to be desired.
Yeah. Let's pack it up, man. And
that's it. Pack it up. Get back to work. Again, we love you guys. We appreciate you. Want the best for you and the best at you for 2024. But remember, that starts today and tomorrow. Don't look 6 months down the road. Think about what you can do now to set yourself up for a better day or a better way to start the day when you wake up in 6 months, and do that step today and do it tomorrow and do it the next day. As always, go to our website, c26triathlon.com. It's our one-stop shop for all things coaching, camps, and community. If you need anything from Mike, he's available. crushingiron@gmail.com. If you need anything from me specifically, c26coach@gmail.com.
All right, buddy. Welcome back. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, man. See you next time.
Okay.